Greetings, Taku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief.
And Bryce Duncan.
And we're here to bring you all yet again another Discussion of the Week video segment right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly. And as always, we're here to bring you the latest in this week's Discussion of the Week video segment. And this week's discussion topic comes to us from Movie Show Joe, who states physical confrontations. What circumstances do you believe constitute a need for physical confrontation? Is it only necessary to resort to violence for self-defense, or are there other circumstances in which a person may physically confront another individual? What are your thoughts on the mentality that men who back away from physical confrontations are chicken? Is the person who throws the first punch always in the wrong? What are your thoughts on group conflicts, in which a conflict between two people causes groups of individuals who normally would have no issue with one another to come into a conflict with each other, or in other words, the back my boys up mentality? So pretty much what we're going to do, just like every Discussion of the Week video, we'll tackle each sentence one at a time and give you all our thoughts on this week's topic. So I think we can actually answer the first two questions in one, and that is, what circumstances do you believe constitute a need for physical confrontations, and is it only necessary to resort to violence for self-defense, or are there other situations?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, my thoughts on this, obviously, I mean, I think pretty much everybody agrees, you gotta, you should defend yourself at all times. If somebody breaks in your house, obviously that's a clear-cut case of self-defense. But it'll depend upon the person and how threatened they feel. That'll vary from person to person.
And from situation to situation.
And from situation to situation, So, in obvious cases, burglary, things like that, yeah, you obviously defend yourself. But perhaps there are some other circumstances where it necessitates. I just think that's relative to the individual, though.
That's true, and I agree with that. I also think that, well, in all honesty, I think that's the only time you should resort to violence. Because the whole issue of self-defense, I mean, it's going to range depending on the situation, depending on the circumstances. So what I mean is, if it's a domestic dispute that resorts to violence, of course, you have the right to defend yourself. If it's being bullied on a schoolyard, you have the right to defend yourself. And I think for the most part that's how it should go, just because any other, or all other scenarios in which you aren't being physically threatened, you can solve that another way, whether verbally, whether just walking away, anything. But if somebody puts their hands on you, by all means,
absolutely,
protect yourself at all times. Take care of business.
Yeah, no, that's very clear and obvious. But since I'm blind, I find this interesting. You and I could be arguing, though, and say we're yelling at each other and something like that, and you might not be showing any physical tendencies towards wanting to harm me, but I might take it that way, so I might preemptively start a confrontation. I mean, I probably wouldn't do that, but because all I have to go is the sound of your voice and stuff like that. So to me, that's a case of of somebody maybe preemptively doing something when perhaps they weren't being threatened really, but they felt threatened.
Well, and taking that in consideration, though, like I was saying, my thing is this: unless the person hits you, then there's no need for it,
Well, but I won't see that coming, so maybe I.
But I wouldn't hit you though. No. I'll trip you before I hit you.
No. I know you wouldn't hit me, but I'm just generally.
Right.
Anyway.
So let's see. The next question is, okay, what are our thoughts on the mentality that if you back away from a fight, you're a chicken?
Well, Generally, again, I think that's just going to depend on the scenario. I think there are, whether you should take the quote-unquote high road and be more mature and just ignore it, or if you should really take a stand and fight. I mean, I'd say generally, you should try as best you can to turn the other cheek, avoid it, and by avoiding it, that doesn't mean that you're chicken. You might just be, it's just not worth your time and energy, because maybe you don't want to be arrested and charged with fighting.
Exactly. Exactly. My whole thing on that is the efficiency issue. You know, the definition of efficiency is getting the best job done with the least amount of effort.
Right.
And so my thing is this. Let's take a schoolyard situation, right? Like, let's say a guy's trying to bully you into a fight. Well, okay, you could easily resort to fighting him, because maybe standing up to him will be enough to deter him.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do really, or maybe kicking his ass will prove a point to everybody else not to mess with you, right? But then again, sometimes you gotta wonder, it's like, but why would I even bother?
Yeah.
Why even waste my time?
Why would I give in to the peer pressure? Particularly since we're men. The whole idea of you're chicken shit. And if you don't fight, then your pride will be hurt or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll use an example, because this actually happened to me one time. Back when I was in high school, a guy had a problem with me, and he wanted to fight me. And in all honesty, I said, no.
Yeah.
Why? It's like, you're the one that has the issue with me. I don't have a problem with you. It's like, and I remember the guy told me, he was like, oh, so what? It was like, oh, so what? You're not even going to bother? What, you're not even going to fight? I was like, no, because I don't have to. What do I have to prove?
Yeah.
I have nothing to gain from this.
Yeah, and some personal experiences that I just thought of. This is when I could see some guy, similar situation, tried to bully me into a fight and, getting in my face, talking all types of shit, and I ignored it. I'm like, but then in this other situation, I remember some guy was like pushing on a chick or something, and it looked like he was about to hit her, so I kind of interceded kind of on her behalf, and I didn't get in a full-on fight with the guy, but I backed him off. To me, that's necessary.
That is necessary. It is. But I think it also ties into our first point, because I'm all for sticking up for the bully. You know what I'm saying? I firmly believe you should always help those who cannot help themselves. You should always stand up for those who cannot defend themselves. But I think it still implies with what we said with the first question. Okay, let's say you step in and you defend somebody else from being bullied. Well, now you're putting yourself in the middle.
Right.
Now, is the bully physically threatening you as well as the other person? Because if they are, then by all means take care of your business. But if not, you could just your intervention could be enough to save that other person.
Yeah, and that's and in that instance, that's what occurred. I basically got in the guy's face and pushed him slightly or whatever, and he backed off because he didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Right. I mean, and in regards to that, to the second or third question about the whole chicken thing. Now, yeah, of course we do know, this is going to be a bigger problem for younger people, because there's peer pressure, school image, all that type of thing, reputation, all that. We know, the reputation of high school, it follows you all the way through high school, sometimes even into college.
Yeah.
So we know it's important, but I'm always for take the higher ground.
Yeah.
Always.
And
with that being said, if someone backs you into a corner, by all means, fight your way out and through them if you have to.
Well, now, and this obviously is different for me now since I'm blind. I can't afford to be getting in too many confrontations because if the person's blind, then we're on even ground, I guess. But I can't afford to be getting too mouthy with people.
I hear that. So the next question is Is the person who throws the first punch always in the wrong?
No. Again, I know we keep it sounding repetitive now. That'll depend on the situation. I think in the one case, if you're interceding on behalf of somebody else, and you just kind of preemptively, like, no, kind of, fuck that, this person's being bullied, so I'm gonna end it. Maybe that might not be totally necessary, but I understand it more. But if it's clear that it's just a heated discussion, and then you go over the top, then
then you're the aggressor of that confrontation.
You're the aggressor.
Yeah, I mean, throwing the whole first punch thing, I think it just really does. What's the scenario?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something you got to completely play on here.
And I mean, it is going to depend upon your personal, how threatened you feel, because somebody, like I was saying earlier, somebody might feel threatened, by like, I need to be violent because this person's yelling, but then somebody else is like, no, they're just yelling, and they're not being physical. So,
right.
That'll just depend. But
I think it all depends.
Yeah.
And the last one is pretty much what are our thoughts on group conflicts. Now see, this is kind of funny. I think this is where you and I are going to differ, because my thing is, I can't, like, I did come up with the whole, if it's between you and one other person, it's between you and one other person.
Right.
It's, y'all go ahead, go in the backyard, go behind school, just you and him.
Put the gloves on.
Handle your business. First person falls, that's it. And then it's squashed after that.
Right.
Fuck the retaliatory bullshit. It's squashed after that.
Yeah.
Whether you in the right or whether you in the wrong, if you lose that fight, it's over. You lost.
Right.
Right? But I've also jumped people before.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been, in group conflicts.
Yeah, and I've never been involved in it, so I'm out of the loop in terms of in that area of the discussion. I don't, I've never jumped anybody or been in a group or anything like that.
Yeah,
that necessitated fighting.
Now, granted, that's something I did in my crazy youth.
Yeah,
but
you're forgiven. It's okay.
But I would say when it comes to group conflicts, do it like a lumberjack match.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, and this is what I think. If anything, the whole back up your boys type thing, I think your boys should only be there to prevent anybody else from jumping in.
Yeah.
Like a lumberjack match.
Yeah.
It should be between those two people.
Yeah.
And
but your group is
your group
perimeter.
Yeah, form a perimeter.
Yeah.
To make sure nobody else jumps in.
Yeah.
And I think that if it does become, this type of group thing, see who jumps first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you have a conflict between, if it's you and your boys and another guy and his boys, if his boys jump in, then by all means, it's fair game.
Yeah.
But as long as it's one-on-one, then your boys should just be there to keep it one-on-one.
Yeah, keep it one-on-one or respond in self-defense of, if it's uneven numbers.
Right, exactly. Then your boy should just be there to, okay, no, I'm not even going to say that much.
What?
I won't even say that. To have your boys jump in just to make it even.
Well,
I'm not even going to say that. No. If it's a one-on-one confrontation with you and a guy, and that guy's boys jumps in, right? Then I don't give a damn if he only has 2 and you got 5. It's fair game after that. Because his boy should have never jumped in.
Right.
It's fair fucking game after that.
Yeah. I see your point.
Because they shouldn't have jumped in to begin with.
Right.
So if y'all already, outnumbering them, mollywop their ass. Plain and simple. In that shit. Yeah. Because they had no business jumping in. So, alright, so final thoughts. I mean, anything else you want to add?
Not too much. I mean, I think it's, I think we've covered it all. Obviously, defend yourself, and it'll vary on the person, how threatened they feel. That's gonna vary. Perhaps they jump in, perhaps they jump the gun before they should, or maybe they don't jump soon enough and they should have sensed it coming sooner. I don't know. as far as backing down, generally, I think you should try your best to be as diplomatic as you can. Because as in Fight Club, you know, people don't like to fight. Remember that?
Yeah.
When they try to start the fight with the
Yeah. I don't know about kids. I'll say that for adults though. A lot of adults will avoid confrontation.
Yeah.
You know,
it takes a lot to get your average as evidenced in the movie, the guy with the hose.
Yeah. It takes a lot to get the average Joe. But then again, remember though, under those circumstances, you're the aggressor.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
That's not self-defense.
Yeah, they're purposely doing it as a test. They're being the aggressor to push people.
So yeah, so my final thoughts on the...
You shouldn't do that.
My final thoughts is be as diplomatic as humanly possible. But if somebody does, be as diplomatic as humanly possible. You know, try to avoid confrontation whenever you can.
Right.
But, well, I'm talking about physical, not verbal. By all means, you could tell a motherfucker to shreds verbally.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure I do that on an hourly basis.
Oh yeah.
But when it comes to physical, try to avoid it as much as humanly possible. But if someone puts their hands on you, put that motherfucker in the ground.
That's
by
right,
any means necessary.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cause you know, dude, sometimes I don't even believe in fighting fair. I'll be the first one to grab a baseball bat.
Well, shit. Well, in my case.
Oh yeah, get that cane, son.
Oh well, fuck a cane. I'm doing something else. I'll use the cane, but I'm going for the nuts. You know?
Oh yeah. So anyway, so that's gonna wrap up this week's discussion of the week video segment. In the comments below, leave your thoughts on this week's topic, but also leave suggestions for next week's topic and thumb up the one you want to see discussed in next week's video. So what's coming down the line later this week? We just got one more video we're actually going to be recording right after this one. That's the advice corner, and that will be up tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it'll be a good one.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. So
we both have personal experience with that one.
Oh, don't we? So with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief,
and Bryce Duncan,
signing off, and until next time, peace.